The most important thing you can do when it comes to psychedelics and mushrooms is to build a relationship with the plant medicine, because that's what it is. It's a relationship between you and the shrooms, between you and the ayahuasca, between you and your psychedelic of choice. And so the very first time you do mushrooms or any psychedelic, that's like the first date. You're just getting to meet the mushrooms and you're finding your wings. And it may not always be a smooth first date. It may have some awkward points, may have some difficulty. So be prepared for that. But your job is to prepare as much as possible in terms of the environment, the people, a set and setting. And for preparation, you can check out my mushroom trip checklist. It's a free guide. You can find it at mushroomchecklist.com. Now, after the first trip, that's when the relationship really begins. Because now you've gotten to know each other, and now you're building on top of that relationship. And every subsequent mushroom trip you do, it's like the chapter of a new book. You just can't wait to read what's next. And there's layers to this relationship. And the most beautiful part is the trust. The trust that you build with mushrooms over many, many, many trips. It comes to a point where you unconditionally trust what will happen in the trip. You can fully surrender because you know where the mushrooms take you or where the ayahuasca takes you. You understand that it's for your highest good. And so you can fully surrender to that experience. And then it becomes like a close friend that you can turn to for guidance, for insights, for advice. You might not see them for months, but then the next time you do a trip, it's like reconnecting with an old friend. Now, a little funny story. I remember when I first did ayahuasca, it was a first date, and it was difficult, and it was tough. The first few hours, I thought this is going to be the worst trip of my life, genuinely, because it was so intense, it was so emotional. I didn't know if I would survive the night. And then I stayed with the trip, I stayed with the date, and we worked things out. I found my wings. And by the end of that first ayahuasca ceremony, I consider it to be one of the best trips of my life, the most transformational trip of my life. It directly led to this YouTube channel, the podcast I'm doing, the 1 Billion Humans mission. Everything I'm doing around psychedelics originated from that incredible first trip. But now the second ceremony, this is where it gets interesting. The second ayahuasca ceremony, I was more nervous to go back in because I knew what I was dealing with. I knew this was going to be serious work. And I didn't know if ayahuasca would welcome me with open arms because it had been a short time between the first ceremony and the second one. And I almost thought I might get punished. I might get punished by Mother Aya for coming back too soon. But my friend convinced me. He said, tune in, make sure that your intuition says yes. And he said, there's always things to learn. I don't think ayahuasca is going to punish you for coming back. And so we went to the second ceremony. And within the first hour, I knew that I was welcome back. I immediately felt like coming home to an old friend. There was no sense of punishment. There was no sense of you came back too soon. It was open arms, welcome. Welcome back to the school. Let's learn again. Let me teach you more things. And I was really heartened by that, to realize that, okay, I do have a relationship with this plant medicine. And forever now, I will have that relationship. And if I go into these ceremonies with a pure intention to learn, to get curious about myself, I feel like ayahuasca will meet me halfway. And it'll extend an arm. It'll extend a hand and tell me, come this way, let me teach you something new. And what was really fascinating about the second ceremony was I expected a rehash of the first ceremony. I thought it would be kind of the same lessons, but maybe more lectures, more of the same. And what it turned out to be was a completely different set of lessons. My friend who said there's always more to learn, he was absolutely right. Because it was like getting 2 PhDs in completely different subject matters. Like the 2 ayahuasca ceremonies were miles apart in terms of the visuals, the emotions, the lessons. that was really fascinating. And I did a third ceremony the week after that, and every ceremony was so unique. And the thread between them was love, unity, oneness, and also that relationship. Building that relationship, coming back to the ceremonies and feeling invited back in, feeling like, okay, I'm ready to learn and I'm ready to meet Mother Aya again. So that's a little aside about ayahuasca, but coming back to mushrooms, I feel the same relationship with mushrooms. I trust them unconditionally because I know that over the years I've built this relationship and they've never let me down. They've never betrayed me, is how I put it. Not a single time. And any trips that have gone a little bit sideways, it's come from my own mistakes. My own mistakes of environment, my own mistakes of who I trip with, maybe not being intentional enough. But from the mushroom side, it's always been love. It's always been divine guidance. And so I fully trust when I go into these ceremonies, whether it's by myself or in a group setting, I'm ready for the adventure. And because of that relationship, I have full trust in the mushrooms. And I wish that for every single person listening to this, whether your medicine of choice is mushrooms, San Pedro, ayahuasca, maybe it's LSD, maybe it's DMT, maybe it's MDMA, whatever medicine you use to intentionally connect with your soul, build that relationship. Never betray the plant medicine. Never go into it without intention. Always going with pure intentions, an open heart, curiosity, and you'll never be let down. Never. If you can develop a relationship with whichever plant medicine you're doing, it will help you so much to surrender and to fully dive into this experience with pure presence. And you'll get so much more out of each trip when there isn't that resistance, when you can fully trust the mushrooms and just go into the trip with an open heart. To learn more about how to develop your relationship with the mushrooms, check out my free guide, The 4 Essential Touchstones You Need to Know Before Your Trip. You can find it for free at jamesxander.com/touchstones. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.